This is your NFL team based on your football team. I'm Jay Lawrence. If you don't know me, I host Teal Talk, the official podcast for the Jacksonville Jaguars in the UK and Ireland. You might have heard me on TalkSport 2, on Absolute Radio, and I post almost too much on TikTok, exclusively about the NFL. You might be new to the NFL, you might be thinking, oh, that looks like quite a cool sport, but I don't really know who to support. Well, the chances are that your football team, as in your soccer team, might have some similarities with some NFL teams that you just have no idea about. So in this video, let's go through some. I've already done one video going through every team in the Premier League. So what we're going to do is go through the rest of the NFL teams that I've not covered yet, and maybe your team's mentioned. And honestly, I don't think we can actually start much bigger. We'll start in the AFC West. We're actually going to start with the current Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is actually really easy. If you support Real Madrid, well, you're probably going to be into the Kansas City Chiefs, to be honest with you. And it's for one simple reason. Look, you support Real Madrid. You might not even be from Madrid. You might just like supporting a winning team. Well, it just so happens that the Kansas City Chiefs, over the last few years, have started a dynasty. Real Madrid, where they're used to winning. They have won stupid number of Champions Leagues, stupid number of La Ligas. I mean, they just won the Champions League just now, didn't they? And who says that either of those teams are going to stop winning? If you're a Real Madrid fan, you'll probably like the Chiefs. And actually, we're going to go completely different, like so different to Real Madrid right now, and go to Ipswich Town. Ipswich Town and Real Madrid are kind of very different teams. They are in very different moments, full stop. And so are the LA Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers are quite different to the Chiefs at the moment. The Chargers just need to not get out of their own way, really, but they need to find their footing in the NFL. And they think that they might be at the start of something. They've just got a new head coach, someone with a lot of experience in John Harbaugh, who's already made a Super Bowl, granted about 10 years ago, but he's back in the NFL now. Now, Ipswich Town, they've been out of the Premier League game for a long time, but they're back in it, and that's what matters. So I feel like there's one moment that they're sharing, the LA Chargers and Ipswich Town. They are both thinking, at the very least, that they're on the cusp of something. Next, we go to the Denver Broncos, and we'll head to Italy for this one. Am I going to go for Juventus? Am I going to go for Inter Milan? AC Milan? No. We're going Lazio. Lazio finished second in Serie A this year, and I'm going to be honest with you, Denver Broncos, they didn't finish second in their division, let alone second in the whole of the NFL. And there's one thing that they've both got in common. Just because they've both won it all before does not mean that they are anywhere close at the moment. But that's okay. I want to be clear, that is okay. Every single team at some point needs to be on a trajectory. As long as you're on that trajectory, as long as you're going the right way, then that's what matters. Lazio finished second. Denver Broncos hoping, with Sean Payton as their head coach, with a new quarterback in Bo Nix, hoping that they can get a foothold in what is a really tough division. Hopefully they can both be on the right way to success. So the remaining team from the AFC West is the Las Vegas Raiders. I've already covered them on my previous video. You can go and watch that. In fact, I've done every team in the NFC East as well, apart from one, the Washington Commanders. And actually, I feel like this can kind of work both ways, because if you're a Washington Commanders fan, I think that you should support this team. And if you're a fan of this team, I think you should support the Washington Commanders. And I kind of feel like they're America's team anyway, this football team that I'm talking about, despite the fact that they're from rural Wales. If you haven't guessed already, I'm talking about Wrexham, the team that is owned by Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney? Is it McElhenney? McElhenney? McElhenney?
The Always Sunny guy.
The Always Sunny guy. The Always Sunny guy. I think it's fair to say that Wrexham as a football team, probably Wrexham as like a place, has changed completely because of those two guys, Ryan and Rob McElhenney, buying that team. The Washington Commanders, they've got new owners over the past couple of years, and they have made it extremely clear that they want to change the team. They want to change the culture of the Commanders as well. And obviously what comes with that is they want success. And I think that Rob and Ryan have done very well in Wrexham in going through the leagues so far. And what the Washington Commanders owners want to do is obviously make headway towards getting that Super Bowl. They've got a new quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Maybe there's more similarities between those teams than you might think. By the way, if you haven't yet, make sure you go like the video. I've covered the Packers, I've covered the Bears, and I've covered the Lions from the NFC North in the previous video. What about the Minnesota Vikings though? The Minnesota Vikings. If you support Viking Football Club from Norway. Next team. The only team in the AFC South that I've not covered yet is the Indianapolis Colts. And if you're a fan of Barcelona, I think you should support the Colts. Now, you're probably thinking, why? You could argue that if you're a Colts fan, nothing has been the same since Peyton Manning left. Obviously, an unbelievably talented quarterback, one of the best to ever do it, a man that brought such success to Indiana. And in Barcelona, has it been the same since Messi? I don't know if it has. Now, if you're a Colts fan, you can say, well, yeah, we had Andrew Luck, who was another supremely talented quarterback. Obviously, he retired, so you could say it still works with that player. I still think that if you're a fan of Barcelona and you're a fan of the Indianapolis Colts, you still do have that one thing in common, and that you're pining or lamenting a player leaving too early in his career when he still had very good years left in him, and it could have been spent with your team. We'll head to the NFC South now. I've done the Saints, I have done the Buccaneers in the previous video. Let's do the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. And in fact, this is a good one, because if you're a Leicester fan, just choose either. Just choose either, to be honest with you. Leicester City. Well, look, they had one amazing year. A year that will live long in the memories of anybody who lived in Leicester for that year. Like my brother behind the camera.
Up the Blues.
Are they called the Blues?
I don't know.
No, that wasn't. No, yeah, that wasn't. But the thing is that despite the fact that Leicester did have some good years after that, nothing ever compared. Nothing ever compared to that Premier League title win. And the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons, well, they both had those years, except they didn't actually win. The Atlanta Falcons in that infamous loss to the New England Patriots, and of course, Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers also losing in the Super Bowl. And ever since then, it has not been the same for either of those teams. Now, Leicester, they're on the up, they're back in the Premier League. Atlanta have got Kirk Cousins, so I suppose you could say that they are looking forward. Panthers, yeah, we'll see. Either way, if you're a Leicester fan, just choose whichever one of those two teams tickles your fancy. We'll go to the NFC West. The only team that I haven't done already is the Arizona Cardinals. And in fact, I'm sort of second guessing myself on this one, to be completely honest with you, because I think it's going to come across a little mean, and I don't want it to come across mean in any way. The Arizona Cardinals are Inter Miami. Now, this might sound a bit strange, because Inter Miami, they currently have Messi, they have Suarez, probably other good soccer players that I'm unaware of. Busquets, I think he plays. Does he play? Busquets might play for him. But the problem is that as good as Inter Miami are, no one really cares. If you're not in America, no, you know. It's a little bit like the Arizona Cardinals. They could be great, but you're in a division with the San Francisco 49ers. If you're great, the 49ers are going to be better. People are going to care about them more. That was kind of mean. I kind of feel like that was a little bit mean. I take it back. Kind of, sort of, not really. Let's go to the AFC North. The Pittsburgh Steelers have already been covered, but the Cleveland Browns haven't. I think this is a good one. I like this one, though you wouldn't necessarily say that Paris is anything like Cleveland. But in the way that they've operated their football teams over the last few years, I do see comparisons. Over the last few years, the Cleveland Browns have operated in gaining Deshaun Watson for an obscene number of draft picks, for an obscene guaranteed wage. They got Odell Beckham Jr. over from the New York Giants years ago. You remember that? You forgot about that, didn't you? They've tried to get some big players on their team to get some success. And generally speaking, it has not worked. It has not worked. Now with PSG, it's worked to an extent, but it's been very obvious throughout the last few years that for PSG, the goal has been the Champions League. And if that is your ballpark for success, if that's the thing that you really want to get and you don't get it, well then it's a failure, isn't it? And with PSG, they got players like Neymar for an obscene amount of money. They got Messi over from Barcelona, paid him, of course, a crazy amount of cash. And that's not including Mbappe that they got from Monaco as well. They do have similarities, these teams, despite the fact that, again, Cleveland is probably not very much like Paris in any way whatsoever. The Cincinnati Bengals next. They remind me of another promoted team to the Premier League, Southampton. Now, the Cincinnati Bengals, over the last few years, have been a good football team. In fact, they've been a better than good football team. The years before that, we don't really need to talk about, to be honest with you. But what they have been good at is operating efficiently and immediately with the talent that's in front of them. Joe Burrow came in, great from day one, essentially. Jamar Chase came in, great from day one. You know, T. Higgins, they've got some great skill players, great players that they have had since day one that have done very well. Southampton, in my mind, have always been one of the best teams in English football for nurturing talent. We can go back, quite a while and think about Theo Walcott. We can think about Gareth Bale. Forgot about Gareth Bale nearly for a second. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I know that Adam Lallana came from a different team to go to Southampton, but they did nurture him. Same with Virgil van Dijk, actually. He came from Scotland and played and then became this colossus in the Premier League. Southampton have always been good at doing that. The Cincinnati Bengals, over the last few years, are proving that they can do that too. All right, and this is the last one. It's the last one in the AFC North. It's the last one for the video. And I've left the best till last. And when I say best, I think I mean like most confusing because I'm not really sure about this one whatsoever. In fact, I've got two options for you. Two options. So the team's the Baltimore Ravens. So you might be thinking, well, the Baltimore Ravens, successful team. Lamar Jackson as quarterback, great player. Maybe he's going to go along the lines of, a really good standout player playing for this football team. Twice MVP. No, I'm going with MK Dons. To be fair, I'm going with MK Dons, but I'm also going with Atletico Madrid. I'll tell you why Atletico Madrid first, because it does sort of remind me of Antoine Griezmann. Antoine Griezmann, very successful French football player, played for Barcelona, played for Atletico Madrid as well. Two very successful teams over the last decade or so. Two teams that have won La Liga multiple times. He's just got on the wrong end of either team. He hasn't won one. He's not won one. And it sort of makes me think a little bit about Lamar Jackson. Yes, he's won 2 MVPs. He is yet to win a Super Bowl. He's still got time. But I'm kind of thinking he's with a talented team right now. He needs to get a move on, I think, despite the fact that, he's still in his 20s. In terms of MK Dons, you know what? If you're an MK Dons fan, you must be comfortable with your football team having moved from one place to another place, and the other place hating your team because of it. So MK Dons moved from Wimbledon, they moved to Milton Keynes, and a lot of people in Wimbledon not very happy about that whatsoever. I understand that. Similar thing happened with Baltimore. It was almost in the middle of the night. Actually, I think it was in the middle of the night. It wasn't almost in the middle of the night. I think it was in the middle of the night. The Ravens left Cleveland, at the time they were called the Browns, and they moved to Baltimore and changed their name to the Ravens. And at that time, obviously, Cleveland fans distraught. Eventually, a team did go back to Cleveland and they named it the Browns again. But if you're a Baltimore fan, you've got to be comfortable with people in Cleveland not liking your team. If you're an MK Dons fan, you're aware that Wimbledon supporters, ex-Wimbledon supporters, people living in that area, they don't like MK Dons. If you made it to the end of the video, and especially if one of your teams has just been mentioned, then make sure you check out the other videos on my YouTube. I'm going to be posting consistently throughout the NFL season, so make sure you're subscribed. And also, actually, I've got a TikTok as well. Post loads of stuff on TikTok. There's a link in the bio.